and feeling. After that, the bodily conditioner, that means the breath. And after that, the verbal conditioner, that means the thoughts. In other words, when he is coming out of this state of cessation, first the perception and feeling must come back. That means the mind starts working. Then after that, the bodily conditioner, which is the breath, the breathing, starts. That means he comes out of the fourth jhana. That means then after that, then just now, he passes through the fourth jhana. Then after that, the verbal conditioner arises. That means he goes through the second jhana, because the verbal conditioner is thoughts. So thoughts arise again. So he withdraws in that way, from the cessation down to the fourth jhana, down to the second jhana, first jhana, and then he comes out of it. Saying, "Good Venerable Sir," he then asked him a further question. "Venerable Sir, when a monk has emerged from the attainment of the cessation of perception and feeling, how many kinds of contact touch him?" Householder, when a monk has emerged from the attainment of the cessation of perception and feeling, 3 kinds of contact touch him: emptiness contact, signless contact, and undirected contact. The emptiness contact is called the Sunyata Phassa, I think. Signless is Animita, and undirected is Apanihita. These 3 are high states of samadhi. The emptiness, Sunyata Samadhi, the Animita Samadhi, and the Apanihita Samadhi. So, because he has emerged from this cessation, so his mind has this contact. Saying, "Good Venerable Sir," he then asked him a further question. "Venerable Sir, when a monk has emerged from the attainment of the cessation of perception and feeling, towards what does his mind slant, slope, and incline?" Householder, when a monk has emerged from the attainment of the cessation of perception and feeling, his mind slants, slopes, and inclines towards seclusion. Stop here for a moment. So you see, a monk who has attained high states of concentration, when they come out of it, they don't want to talk to people, they don't want to associate with people, they want to be aloof, because it is so pleasant. Does not experience any dukkha. So sometimes people say, some people go for retreat and then they come back, they are supposed to attain the 4 jhanas or 8 jhanas and all that. But if they don't behave like this, be aloof from people, don't want to talk with people, always go into seclusion, then not quite possible that they have attained such high states of jhana or samadhi. "Good Venerable Sir," Citta the householder said, then having delighted and rejoiced in the Venerable Kamabu's statement, he asked him a further question. "Venerable Sir, how many things are helpful for the attainment of the cessation of perception and feeling?" And Venerable Kamabu said, "Indeed, householder, you are asking last what should have been asked first, but still I will answer you. For the attainment of the cessation of perception and feeling, 2 things are helpful: samatha and vipassana." The samatha and vipassana always come together. And in some other suttas, the Buddha says, you cannot attain liberation without samatha and vipassana. You cannot separate them. But unfortunately, nowadays, there are some monks belittle samadhi, belittle samatha, and say that vipassana is enough. But it's never so in the suttas, in the Buddha's teachings. Samatha and vipassana both are necessary for liberation, as seen here. So that's the end of the sutta. It's quite an interesting sutta, and a bit deep also. 41.7. Let's see. On one occasion, the Venerable Gotama was dwelling at Machikasanda in the wild mango grove. Then Citta, the householder, approached the Venerable Gotama, paid homage to him and sat down to one side. The Venerable Gotama then said to him as he was sitting to one side, "Householder, the measureless here is his liberation of mind. The liberation of mind by nothingness, the liberation of mind by emptiness, and the signless liberation of mind. Are these things different in meaning and also different in phrasing? Or are they one in meaning and different only in phrasing?" This is the first one, measureless liberation of mind. The liberation of mind is Ceto Vimutti. Maybe a better translation is the measureless liberation by mind. Liberation by mind. And sometimes they talk about metta, Ceto Vimutti. It is liberation of metta by mind, or radiation of metta by mind. That means the mind radiates or liberates the metta. So here is the measureless liberation by mind. The liberation by mind by nothingness, the liberation by mind by emptiness, and the liberation and the signless liberation by mind. Are these things different in meaning and also different in phrasing, or are they one in meaning and different only in phrasing? And Citta answered, "There is a method, Venerable Sir, by which these things are different in meaning and also different in phrasing. And there is a method by which they are one in meaning and different only in phrasing." "And what, Venerable Sir, is the method by which these things are different in meaning and also different in phrasing? Here among dwells pervading one quarter with a mind imbued with loving kindness, metta. Likewise the second quarter, the third quarter, and the fourth quarter. Thus above, below, across, and everywhere, and to all as to himself. He dwells pervading the entire world with a mind imbued with loving kindness, vast, exalted, measureless, without hostility, without ill will." I'll stop here for a moment. So that's why you see here, he is liberating metta. He's not liberating the mind, he's liberating metta. So he's liberating metta by the mind, by the power of the mind. That's why I say Ceto Vimutti is liberation by mind. It's not liberation of mind. Here it is liberation of metta by the mind. Similarly, he dwells imbued, pervading one quarter with the mind imbued with compassion. Similarly, with the mind imbued with joy. Compassion is karuna. Joy is mudita. With the mind imbued with equanimity, upekkha. Likewise the second quarter, third quarter, and the fourth quarter. Thus above, below, across, and everywhere, and all as to himself. He dwells pervading the entire world with the mind imbued with these four things. Either one of these four things, metta, karuna, mudita, and upekkha. Vast, exalted, measureless, without hostility, without ill will. This is called the measureless liberation by mind. Liberation by mind of metta or of karuna. And what, Venerable Sir, is the liberation by mind by nothingness? Here, by completely transcending the base of the infinity of consciousness, aware that there is nothing, a monk enters and dwells in the base of nothingness. This is called the liberation by mind, by nothingness. And what, Venerable Sir, is, maybe you can say the liberation by mind of nothingness. And what, Venerable Sir, is the liberation by mind of emptiness? Here a monk, gone to the forest or to the foot of a tree or to an empty hut, reflects thus: empty is this of self, or of what belongs to self. This is called the liberation by mind of emptiness. And what, Venerable Sir, is the signless liberation by mind? Here, with non-attention to all signs, a monk enters and dwells in the signless concentration of mind. This is called the signless liberation by mind. This, Venerable Sir, is the method by which these things are different in meaning and also different in phrasing. And what, Venerable Sir, is the method by which these things are one in meaning and different only in phrasing? Lust, Venerable Sir, is a maker of measurement. Hatred is a maker of measurement. Delusion is a maker of measurement. For a monk whose asavas are destroyed, these have been abandoned, cut off at the root, made like palm stumps, obliterated, so that they are no more subject to future arising. To whatever extent there are measureless liberations by mind, the unshakable liberation by mind is declared the chief among them. Now that unshakable liberation by mind is empty of lust, empty of hatred, empty of delusion. Lust, Venerable Sir, is a something. Hatred is a something. Delusion is a something. For a monk whose asavas are destroyed, these have been abandoned, cut off at the root, made like palm stumps, obliterated so that they are no more subject to future arising. To whatever extent there are liberations by mind of nothingness, the unshakable liberation by mind is declared the chief among them. Now that unshakable liberation by mind is empty of lust, empty of hatred, empty of delusion. Lust, Venerable Sir, is a maker of signs. Hatred is a maker of signs. Delusion is a maker of signs. For a monk whose asavas are destroyed, these have been abandoned, cut off at the root, made like palm stumps, obliterated so that they are no more subject to future arising. To whatever extent there are signless liberations by mind, the unshakable liberation by mind is declared the chief among them. Now that unshakable liberation by mind is empty of lust, empty of hatred, empty of delusion. This, Venerable Sir, is the method by which these things are one in meaning and different only in phrasing. It is a gain for you, householder. It is well gained by you, householder, in that you have the eye of wisdom that ranges over the deep word of the Buddha. That's the end of the sutta. So here you see this monk is asking this Citta, the layman, to explain such a deep subject, measureless liberation by mind, liberation by mind of nothingness, liberation by mind of emptiness, and the signless liberation by mind. These are very high states, and yet Citta can explain so well. So Citta is a person who is not only good in the theory of the Dhamma, that means he can explain the Suttas and the Dhamma extremely well, and I think he also has a very good meditation practice. So because of a combination of both, that's why he has attained to the state of Anagamin. These two things are very important. The understanding of the Dhamma itself, the Suttas, the words of the Buddha, and then meditation practice, the theory and the practice. You can't have only one of them. You need both. Just like Samatha and Vipassana, you need both to be successful in the holy life. So I'll stop here for tonight. We've gone through 7 suttas of this Citta Samyutta. I think there's only 3 more left in this Samyutta, I think, to discuss. So this chapter is quite interesting, quite inspiring.
Just now the Data they explain the liberation of mind by nothingness and liberation of mind by emptiness. That means when the monk